2 years. Yeah, 2 years plus. It's been a while. But we get married soon, I hope. I don't know.
I hope
if
for
she
you
says
guys,
yes.
young Singaporeans.
Yeah.
Put the pressure on him. Maybe I'll make it my thing. I hope that young Singaporeans like Ken Boon and his girlfriend.
0.97. We need to bring up that 0.97 fertility rate.
Is it 0.9? I thought it was lower.
0.97. 2 years in a row already. Yeah. Hey, welcome to the Red Dot Perspective. I'm Khiang Boon. Today we're joined by Jackson Au from the Workers' Party. So he's one of the new candidates that was introduced by the party in GE2025. And I watched him at his first rally speech as the campaign trail began, and I was really impressed by what I saw. So I was very excited to meet him, to find out more about him as a person, as a friend, as a family member, and even as a politician. So thanks for joining us, Jackson.
Thank you very much for having me, Ken Boon. It is a great privilege for me to be here with you. I am a fan of your channel as well, and I watched it grow from the start, and you've bootstrapped it quite well to what it is today. A very well-informed channel that a lot of people that appeals to a lot of people.
Thank you. And Jackson, you seem like a man of many faces. So who are you to your friends, to your colleagues, to people who know you and don't know you? Maybe tell us more about who Jackson is as a person.
It's quite funny you mentioned many faces because I actually have an identical twin who also volunteers with me in the Workers' Party. He's helping the Sengkang campaign team at the moment. But to go back to your question, I don't know if I have that many faces, to be honest. The message that I've tried to push out to people and tell them is that I'm just an ordinary Joe. I'm someone who decided one day that, I don't want to just complain. I just want to start doing something and start trying to contribute, no matter how small it is. So that's the underlying message that I've been giving to a lot of people who speak to me.
So why the Workers' Party? Why not the PAP or other alternative parties?
The Workers' Party ideologically aligns with me a lot more than other parties. My origin story is a bit funny because my wife was volunteering in Tanjong Pagar at the time with Joan Pereira. And I was just very annoyed and frustrated that I was just not doing anything useful with my time, and I was just complaining a lot. So I decided that, enough is enough. If my wife can volunteer and contribute to her community very quietly, why shouldn't I do the same? So I wrote to Leon Pereira, who was the media team head at the time, and I told him that, hey, I work in comms. I could be useful to you. Can I help you out? That's how it started.
Very interesting. And you seem like the kind of guy that is a go-getter, you want to get things done. What is your EMTJ, what's your personality type?
I can't remember what it is. It's the one where I actually can't remember, but it's the one where you are extroverted and you really want to do things. I think you hit the nail on the head quite well. I am a go-getter. I am very focused on getting things done as much as possible. The execution means a lot to me. It means as much as the planning to me.
Okay. Yeah, so is that the type of MP you're going to be if you get into the role?
In my experience working with all the opposition MPs in the Workers' Party, what I found is that the hallmark of a good opposition politician is that he or she is always on the ground. They are very close to what the people on the ground are feeling. They understand the fears, they understand the concerns, they want to bring up and give their residents a voice. And I don't think I will be that much different. It's something that I like to think I'm very good at. I work the ground very hard, and people will see me often if I am so fortunate enough to be elected to something.
Yeah, and this is consistent with many of your colleagues who are already in parliament. I mean, one thing that Workers' Party is known for is being seen and hearing people on the ground, hearing views on the ground. So if I were to draw a comparison, in PAP there is a Mr. Louis Ng, who is known for being very vocal in parliament, almost being a little bit anti-establishment, almost, right? Then you have another kind of MP that may be more on the ground and less vocal in parliament. I think a good example of that could be the WP's vice chair, Mr. Faisal. So where do you fall between the two extremes?
I think you have to be a bit of both. And I'd like to bring an example of another Louis Chua, who is the MP for Sengkang and Rivervale specifically. If I'm not mistaken, and you can kind of help me check the figures, right? I do believe he's the one opposition MP that spoke up the most or raised the most parliamentary questions in the last term of parliament. I think 400 plus something. At the same time, right, if you look at the Sengkang Town Council, again, I don't remember the exact numbers off the top of my head, but I believe the Sengkang Town Council has put in bids or tried to greenlight municipal projects which far exceeds the average PAP town council in that past year. So it's not mutually exclusive to me. When I look at someone like Louis, you can be good and speak up for the people in parliament, but you can also be good on the ground and advocate for a better community, better towns, and better living circumstances for your residents.
Okay. And this is consistent with the the growth of the Workers' Party. Because I think in the past, one of the criticism of an opposition party is that you cannot run town councils well. But now I think that perception has completely changed, and it's evident just from the number of initiatives itself. So I think that's progress for the opposition in general.
I completely agree. And what I would say is this, right? If you look at the Workers' Party, right, it has a heritage of being able to look after its residents. We've held Sengkang for the past 5 years, and I think the track record of the team there speaks to, hopefully will speak to them being re-elected again this term. We've held Aljunied since 2011, and again, I like to think our residents have benefited from our presence there. We've held Hougang for almost 35 years, which is even longer than the PAP has held it. And beyond all this, our residents realize that, yeah, we are working hard for them. We are trying to represent them, and we will not let their estates be neglected or suffer as our detractors try to say we will. You just need to look at the latest M&D reports on town council performance. I think we have been green banded across all categories. The message that the Workers' Party wants to put out is that you will not suffer if you have an opposition like the Workers' Party take away the town councils. We will take care of you just as good as any other town council can in Singapore.
Yeah, actually, I had a chance to see the video. I think the Hougang story that's published by the documentary, and I saw sort of the journey that Mr. Lota Khiang had. I mean, the challenges that he had to set up the first town council. I think it was quite inspiring. I mean, just independently looking at it, I mean, you respect the man for what he has done.
Of course, I'm relatively younger compared to Mr. Lau, who is like a party stalwart and everyone admires him and looks up to him. But I will have to say he commands the gravitas that only very senior establishment politicians do. When you go on walkabouts with him, right, you will see the love and admiration and respect that constituents have for him because they understand the sacrifice that he has made. They understand how difficult it was for him to get started. And if not for his contributions and even his gambit to leave Hougang in 2011 and give the residents of Aljunied a very credible choice, right? I would dare say the Workers' Party would not be where it is today. And that's just my opinion.
Okay. So you're running in Punggol GRC.
Yes.
Was that your choice? Did you have a preference for it? And how did the decision come about?
I really am not at liberty to speak about my choice per se. My perspective has always been, I will go where the party needs me and I will work hard wherever I need it. I think you might be aware of this, but most political parties during campaigns, they will have what we call an election committee, where they will deliberate the strategic nuance and tactical deployments of individuals elsewhere. For me, I'm just glad that I have a very strong team aside myself. Mr. Harpreet Singh, Alexis, and Alia, they're all fantastic people. We bring a lot of different experiences, and we have a very strong team behind us. And I'm just glad to be part of them. And I hope that the residents of Punggol can see that as well.
Okay, very good. And what do you think about your opponents on the other side of the aisle for Punggol GRC?
Again, we are facing a very formidable opponent, as you can imagine. They have a lot of resources at their command, and they've been the incumbent here for some time, so they do have that base of familiarity and maybe goodwill with the residents. With that said, we're a team that is here to play to win. We're not scared of whoever comes to us, and I hope our sincerity and earnestness will appeal to residents. And they can see that it is a safe choice. It is a good choice to come with Workers' Party this time around.
And specifically on the PAP side, what are your thoughts about DPM Gun coming over to the PAP team?
I don't know Mr. Gun, DPM Gun that well. I'm sure he's a lovely person. I think his residents in Choa Chu Kang will miss him greatly. It really remains to see what impact his transfer to Punggol will have on the campaign. But I really don't want to speculate on their side and their considerations. For us, we were kind of expecting the unexpected, as my colleague Alexis said. It doesn't matter who they send to Punggol really to match up with us. We will take the challenge very seriously, and we will still do the same. We will still give our 100% to the ground, and we'll try to show residents that we are here, we are working hard, and we will work hard for them.
Okay, I have a view on this.
Sure,
maybe
go ahead.
let's get your thoughts on this. I think if you look at what's happening in the environment today, US tariffs is obviously a very big thing globally and for Singapore.
Yes.
And DPM Gun is basically front and center of all of these issues, fronting the task force, coordinating things. So one of the views that I have is that by putting a DPM Gun in Punggol GRC, it's basically a referendum on whether Singaporeans want someone, a steady hand to manage the trade issues that are happening right now. And if you do not vote for him, you're basically going to lose that trustworthy person, the guy at the top. So what are your thoughts around that?
First of all, that is a very good observation. I'm sure most rational observers would make the same assertion to you. I kind of look at it slightly differently. So if we approach this election and the tariffs may lead to a global trade war and one of the quote unquote generational crises of our lifetime, yes, there is that appeal to safety, there is that appeal to familiarity that most residents will have. But I will say again that what helps you persevere through troubling times is not it's not uniformity per se. It is unity and diversity in perspective, diversity in voices. And I'd like to bring up the last general election when COVID was upon us, and most people then said it is the crisis of our generation. And we won Sengkang then, we had more opposition representation, and did that lead to a bad outcome for Singapore? I think the PAP in themselves would admit, and I think they have admitted that, they were thankful that the opposition played its part in supporting and pushing to the agenda for protecting Singaporeans during COVID. And I'd like to share this. Oh, I'd like to share this last example, right, which was probably the generational crisis of the last century, which is World War II. I'm a bit of a history nerd, so I hope it's not lost on your viewers. But what do we think happened to the British government during pardon me, sorry.
I know, but I think we can continue this question after. Ah, nice.
I think that might be smart, Yeah. Nice to see perambulating vehicles again. So if we were to look at another example, right, and I'm a bit of a history nerd, so I hope it's not lost on the viewers. But the crisis of the last century perhaps was World War II. On the precipice of World War II, right? What did the British government do? They didn't say like, oh, we are going to stick with one government. They formed the national government with different political leanings, and I think that helped them persevere through the war, and that helped them most. What I want to stress is that, what we need is unity, but not uniformity. We don't need 90% of government to be PAP MPs again. I think there is space for a credible and rational opposition, one that advocates in the interest of Singaporeans.
I didn't know you were a history buff. There's something interesting about you.
Armchair historian.
So I'm glad we managed to discover this about you. It's very interesting. So let's talk a bit more about your views. I think one of the things I think about is that Singapore is an aging population. So I guess rightfully so, a lot of the policies and proposals by the PAP as well as the Workers' Party will tend towards making sure that our elderlies and senior citizens are taken care of. And you are running in Punggol GRC, which is fundamentally very, very different. A lot of young voters. How do you reconcile some of your views of the people in your constituency versus the broader Singapore, and and how would you then operate then in Parliament and as an MP?
So you're absolutely right. Punggol is unique. Can sorry. It's so difficult. It's so difficult. Thank you so much, volunteers.
Okay.
How's everything?
Okay, quite good.
Very good. How long have you guys been driving around today?
Since morning.
Since morning. You all had break, had a lunch?
Yeah, I have
What's your name, sir?
Harry.
Nice meeting Harry.
Nice
Jackson.
meeting you.
You're carrying this with my face around. What's your name?
Yeah.
What's your name, brother?
Mr. Chan.
Chan, Mr. Chan. Thank you so much. You're Punggol residents or what?
I stay here, Bukit Panjang.
Thank you so much for supporting us.
So very interesting thing. A Workers' Party van just came by. So Jackson went to say hello to his colleagues. But we're back. So we were talking about the policy making. The fact that Punggol GRC it's younger demographics, which is quite different from the broader Singapore. So how do you reconcile that in terms of the way you think about things and how you do things as an MP?
Punggol is the youngest GRC, I believe, in Singapore. More than 50% of the residents here are below the age of 40. So through my engagements on the ground, through talking to people, I've seen a lot of young families, a lot of younger Singaporeans. What I will say is politics, if you appeal to only a very niche, very narrow segment of society, you might not get the electoral success or the opportunity to push forward the policies that you want, to advocate for all Singaporeans. I think it's important to have policies that are centric to younger Singaporeans, because the policies that will affect them today will also affect them in the future. And I urge a lot of Singaporeans, right, who are interested to come and read the Workers' Party manifesto and see what we're proposing to help younger Singaporeans make it in life and succeed and ease the pressures on them. So, off the top of my head, there are a few things that I can think about. One is, of course, we're advocating for more childcare support, more caregiver leave. We're also proposing a true train for PSLE so that parents can decide, they have the choice to decide whether they want to, put their children up for PSLE or they can take a true train and forego it. And I think beyond that, it's all interlinked. We want to make it easier for first-time homeowners, right, who are generally younger parents, to buy a home, and we have put forward policies in place to achieve this. It is important for us to make sure that our Singaporeans are cared for now and not just when they're older per se. So I would say the reconciliation is not that difficult for us, because I think if it appeals to younger Singaporeans, it will appeal for their children as well, and it will benefit all Singaporeans beyond generation gaps.
So, but I also want to drill down a bit about the financial side. So, what are the issues or the policies that the WP have that have financial trade-offs, and how do you think about those?
Thanks, Kevin. So I'm glad you brought that up, and I think it's an important message that I would like to get out to your viewers as well, is that we are very conscious about budget and making sure that we use our finances prudently to increase the allowance for NS men and make it a salary with CPF contributions. And even then, right, I think that figure only amounts to 2% of the entire MINDEF's budget. But it kind of shows how conscious we are about making sure that we do spend prudently, and we are a responsible opposition that doesn't advocate for benefits for the sake of it, just because it will appeal to voters. The last term of Parliament, right, we have put together proposals, right, that are budget neutral, in fact. So we don't say we have to spend here, but it's just how can we spend it differently from the status quo. That's what we're advocating for.
So, would I be right to say that one of the contentious issue with proposals from the opposition is that people say that you may be raiding for the reserve if you don't talk about how to make it cost neutral. So, am I right to say that the Workers' Party does not intend to raid the reserves, and everything that you do tends to have an offset somewhere? You spend more, you get revenue more elsewhere.
Again, what I want to stress here, right, is that we are a responsible opposition. In the last term of Parliament, we had this debate with the incumbent government several times, and yes, this has been labelled at us. In many ways, I feel it is very unfair, because what we are proposing most of the time, right, is we're not even trying to use the reserve amount per se. It is the principle of what is being saved and contributing to reserves. Right now, I believe it is 50% to be saved and 50% to be returned. What we're saying is, instead of saving 50% per se, right, perhaps we could review that figure and bring it down to 40% or something, for example. So what we're using is actually a very small base of that sum without even touching our reserves. So we're saying, don't save 50%, save 40%, maybe use 10% to help provide that necessary relief for Singaporeans now. And beyond all this, right, the conversation around reserves is also a bit of a red herring, because the Workers' Party has been very against GST increases in the past term of government. And when you look at the recent numbers, I believe Pritam spoke about financial marksmanship. After implementing 2 tranches of GST increases over the last 2 years, which I believe definitely added fuel to a very inflationary environment, we see that it has only contributed, I believe, something like 700 or 800 million in terms of national revenues. Still the largest contributor of government revenues is corporate income tax. So it begets the question of, why did the PAP government choose to do this at that time? And I feel like they have to be accountable to Singaporeans, more so than the Workers' Party has been accountable for how our reserves has to be spent.
Okay. Actually, this is one of the clearest articulation of the National Reserve discussion I had. And I say this because I must admit that I'm not fully educated on the issue.
Sure.
I have a view on what it is, and I talk to different people like yourself. And this is the clearest one I think.
I must say, I'm not the expert. There are certainly people within the party that are very proficient at this, but this is my understanding of how everything has transpired in the last term of government.
Very good, very good. Okay, let's talk about more local issues.
Sure.
Punggol specifically. What borders Punggol residents? What's your understanding?
Well, Punggol is unique because it is very dense. If you look at how Punggol is structured, there are 2 MRT stations here, right? There's Punggol Coast and there's Punggol. Punggol itself has 2 loops of LRTs adjoining the neighboring HDB adjoining the adjacent HDB neighborhoods. So what you see here, right, is you see people who have to go through a very dense living environment. When they have to go for work, the LRT is overcrowded. Sometimes there's only a one carriage LRT train. I believe, to be fair, the government is trying to implement more dual carriage LRT trains. And we've also heard feedback about the transport system being, besides it being overcrowded, it's also very underdeveloped. So, for instance, there may only be one feeder bus in certain areas of Punggol, and there with long delays, with long intervals between the bus services. So these are things I hear a lot from residents, and I do try to pick up from them. Again, I can go on a bit more, but beyond the North Shore area, beyond the Punggol Coast area, I think most Punggol residents would have liked the nice beach view, get the sea breeze, but it's not the reality at the moment. A lot of them tell us that there's a lot of industrial activity from the Malaysia side of the waters, and it kind of affects them negatively because of the smell and everything. And I think the last thing is, and you've seen this a lot in during the campaign, during videos as well, Punggol residents they do question whether there should be a need for so many fighter jets to fly over the neighborhood, because it does affect their living circumstances. But I think that is a long discussion we can have another time.
I had the opportunity to take public transport in Punggol because I don't live around here, so I came here by public transport. And it's a real problem. I mean, I'm an outsider coming in here and I felt it on the first day. So it's a real thing. So I'm glad that it's something you're aware of and we'll try to fix. Oh, very good.
And beyond fixing it, right? I don't want to come across as someone that will overpromise and underdeliver. I think if we do have the privilege to serve Punggol residents, right, what we want to do is a very resident-centric approach towards solutions. We don't want to come in and say, oh, this is how we know how to do it best, and this is what you will get. We want to get their buy-in. We want to get their views. And I think from speaking to them on the ground, right, I understand their pain points, and I understand that, they feel that there seems to be a flux of businesses at North Shore Plaza, for instance. How can we work with HDB, for example, to kind of regulate the number of shops or anchor tenants at that establishment? There are things like this that I can't go onto this campaign and say, I promise I will do that for you. It's a gradual process, but we hope to involve Punggol residents in this process as well.
Actually, I like this. I think many times during the campaign trail, politicians can get accused of over-promising
Yes,
and under-delivering.
Yes.
I think that's a very prudent and conservative approach to take as a potential first-term MP.
We need to be conscious that a lot of the policies in place, a lot of the infrastructure that are planned for these estates, right, they will not suddenly disappear, or they will not be removed overnight if an opposition party takes over instead of the incumbent government. Are you telling me that the government will discard all its plans for the Punggol Digital District just because the Workers' Party takes charge of Punggol? I highly doubt it, and I think the government realizes that it can't behave in such a way. Residents won't stand for it, and neither will any well-discerning Singaporeans.
That's right. Actually, my personal opinion is that sometimes many of the things that are happening in the various constituencies, they are the work of our civil service. But yet some of our political office holders use that to claim a bit of credit, which I don't fully resonate with. And I think that's what you're talking about.
There is a term for this, right? And I want to make it very clear. I'm not referring to any specific instance or individual in this case, but it's called pork barrel politics, where people appeal to their local residents and say, oh, these are the municipal plans that we have for you exclusively. And I think it is a bit disingenuous. Sure, there is definitely an important element of being the local MP and understanding and liaising with the government to implement these plans. But I don't think it is exclusive to the incumbent government. I feel that we have demonstrated, at least with the Workers' Party, that just because you're an opposition MP, you can be as good, if not even better, than an incumbent MP.
As you said earlier, I think one of the things you alluded to is that you have a younger voter as your residents. So many of the decisions that they will make will be a reflection of what they will want or will experience in the future. So to me, the Punggol GRC is a referendum on the younger voters, and what happens here will be important. And you're going to be front and center of this, and I'm very excited to see how this all plays out, especially since the battle is so close between the Workers' Party and the PAP. So, all the best for the elections.
Thank you very much, Campbell. It's been a real pleasure.
Thanks so much, Jackson. Thank you.